The Opposition Workers' Party's third rally for the Punggol East by-election has just ended. Today's rally saw 13 people take to the stage, including the party's MPs and leaders. This is the party's final rally before cooling off day on Friday, when no campaigning is allowed. Punggol East residents go to the polls on Saturday. We'll bring you the rally highlights later in our bulletin. Welcome back to Singapore Tonight. It's day 8 of campaigning for the Punggol East by-election, with 2 more days to go when some 32,000 residents in the single-seat constituency vote for their Member of Parliament. Our editor Imelda Sat has been following the opposition parties, and she joins me now in studio. Imelda, there was a common theme among the opposition parties today. What were they talking about?
Yes, Jen. Well, both the Singapore Democratic Alliance and the Reform Party, they touched on opposition unity. This, of course, came about from last night's Workers' Party rally with Secretary General Lau Tia Kiang. He said that it's almost impossible for opposition parties to come together because of their different political ideologies. Now, despite that, Desmond Lim from the Singapore Democratic Alliance, he said that he wants to be a champion for opposition unity if he's elected. In fact, he pointed to his own SDA and said that that's an example of how opposition parties can come together. And he also cited how the Reform Party's Kenneth Jayaratnam, how he invited, the SDA to come and speak at the Reform Party's rally tomorrow. And Mr. Lim said that's another example of how opposition parties can work together as well. Let's hear what Mr. Lim has to say.
I thank him for his good gesture. However, because I'm running out of time, and my main priority now is still focused on the election campaigns door-to-door visit. And I have replied to his email and say that I wish him all the best.
Well, the SDA today uploaded more video clips as part of its online rally. Addressing the issue on housing, Mr. Lim proposed pegging home prices to the median salary of young Singaporeans between 20 and 30 years old. This, he said, will motivate couples to get married early and have children.
And what about the Reform Party? What did it have to say something about opposition unity too?
Yes, that's right. Reform Party's Kenneth Jayaratnam, he said the idea of opposition unity in Singapore is far-fetched. He cited the different campaigning styles by the various parties and said some form of competition is actually necessary. Let's hear what he has to say.
We believe in competition as ideologies, and that's what we're seeing: competition as message, competition as quality as candidates, which we feel we're winning on.
When asked why he had invited the Singapore Democratic Alliance's candidate Desmond Lim to speak at his rally tomorrow, Mr. Jayaratnam said it's because only 2 rally sites are available. Now, he likened the situation to one of having 2 stables for 4 horses, but said this should not prevent anyone from putting their ideas across.
Now, the Workers' Party held its final rally tonight, and you were monitoring that. What were the highlights? What was it?
Well, several MPs, including Party Secretary General Lau Tia Kiang, responded to what Deputy Prime Minister Teo Chee Hean had said last night about the Workers' Party's MPs not making a strong stand on some very important issues like population and foreign workers. Now, Mr. Lau said that he did, in fact, speak up on these issues, for example, the issue of foreign workers, and even suggested how the foreign worker quota in Singapore could be recalibrated. But he said his proposal was never taken up by the government. Now, issues like immigration, said Mr. Lau, are clearly spelled out in the Workers' Party's manifesto. Mr. Lau added DPM Teo and the PAP should stop misleading voters, that was his words, because the Workers' Party has been trying as hard to fix the mistakes made by the ruling party.
The Workers' Party's stand on policy making and alternative solutions are clear. Every policy must be made with the objective of improving the lives of the nation as a whole, and not only for a small group. If the result is only a small group is benefited, then the policy has failed. Society must be inclusive, and this small nation of ours will quickly lose his identity and soul. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot afford to put our lives in the hand of a sleepy driver. Do not put another sleepy driver into parliament.
Now, candidate Lily Lian said she won't offer promises like multi-million-dollar projects, but one of her immediate tasks, if elected, is to ensure the smooth running of the town council. Now, on issues like immigration, she said the Workers' Party is not against immigration, but it is concerned about the pace at which immigration is taking place in Singapore. Now, she added that stay-at-home parents who don't have any income, they too should receive some form of infant and child care subsidies from the government.
There is a great imbalance in Parliament right now. That is why there is an urgent need to vote more Workers' Party candidates into Parliament. On 26th of January 2030, your ballot paper is not just a piece of paper with a cross on it. It is a piece of paper that will send a signal to the ruling party that all is not well. We need more constructive changes.
Imelda, thank you for that. And joining us in studio is May Wong May. Now, Madam Halima Yaacob, Speaker of Parliament, joined the PAP's candidate on his walkabout today. How did Madam Halima weigh in?
That's right. Madam Halima actually conducted some walkabouts in terms of going to house visits with Dr. Koh, and she observed that he's actually done extensive work on the ground because people recognize him and people actually know about the plans that he wants to introduce within the constituency. From Dr. Koh's perspective, he is saying that the campaign momentum is going very strong, backed by PAP leaders as well as members. Dr. Koh is of the view that there is a solidarity of the party that is being shown here. So let's take a look at this story in greater detail. PAP's Dr. Koh has been actively interacting with residents to let them know what he's capable of achieving if elected. Speaker of the House Halima Yaacob, who turned up to support Dr. Koh's campaign, says he will no doubt help make a difference to the lives of Singaporeans.
I'm really confident that if once Pokun is elected as a member of parliament, he will pursue those issues with rigor and with great passion, because he is a man that believes strongly in those issues, whether it is the elderly, whether it is the poor, whether it is the families and children. Most certainly, I am certain that he will have the passion to push those issues.
Refuting the opposition's accusations that the ruling party has not provided enough help for senior citizens, Madam Halima says the government had in fact announced a slew of measures, from setting up more senior group homes to offering grants to help the elderly. Despite the opposition's deliberate attempt to focus voters' attention on national issues, PAP's Dr. Koh Pokun, however, insists on keeping it local. That's because he feels that municipal issues are still of primary concern to residents. However, he says if elected, he'll certainly champion macro issues such as for the elderly and young families in Parliament. Continuing with his campaign, Dr. Koh is heartened to note that residents have warmed up to him considerably.
Over the last few days, the visibility for who I am, what I stand for, and what I'm championing has become much clearer. And of course, with the support of the rest of the party members, I feel much more energized, and I think the momentum is really going very strong.
Dr. Koh emphasized that this by-election is about finding the best person to serve the residents' needs and not to better the interests of a political party. His comments come on the back of the Workers' Party's call to increase the number of opposition members in Parliament. Deputy Prime Minister Teo Chee Hean also weighed in on the issue via a Facebook post. He said the Workers' Party has not offered credible alternatives and avoided taking a stand on major issues such as population and foreign workers, unlike the PAP MPs. Mr. Teo added that having another Workers' Party MP will not help the quality of debate and decision-making for Singapore.
Now, May, there were a few issues raised at the rallies. What has been the responses so far?
Well, in terms of Health Minister Gan Kim Yong, he was talking about the fact that elderly Singaporeans would end up facing greater financial difficulties if they were to have unrestricted use of Medisave. This was speaking in response to Workers' Party candidate Lily Lian's suggestion that perhaps the government might want to consider scrapping the Medisave withdrawal limit for those aged above 75. Instead, Mr. Gan actually said that elderly Singaporeans with financial difficulties when it comes to health healthcare costs can approach schemes such as MediFund Silver, which is aimed at those aged above 65. And in addition to that, he's given the assurance that Singaporeans will be taken care of, particularly when it comes to healthcare costs. Let's take a listen.
We have to be very careful when we want to remove a restriction on the use of MediSave, especially if we want to remove all the restrictions, because we have to be mindful that these are very important savings of the elderly, and they will continue to need the savings as they grow older.
Well, tomorrow is the last day of campaigning. What do you think we can expect?
Well, we have two rallies set to take place tomorrow evening, one by the Reform Party, the other by the People's Action Party at different sites. In addition to that, for the PAP, we can expect speakers such as Deputy Prime Minister as well as Finance Minister Tharman Shanmugaratnam and also the Minister of State for Health and Manpower, Amy Khor, to make an appearance at the PAP rally. Friday, as you've mentioned earlier, no campaigning is allowed because it's cooling off day.
All right, May, Imelda, thanks for joining me this evening. And that's the latest on day 8 of campaigning for the Punggol East by-election that's set for this Saturday, January 26.